Member for Kamloops Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much to unpack on that last speech. It's interesting. I don't want to dwell on it, but I would point out that the NDP is running a record deficit, and they actually have walked away from all of their campaign promises at the same time. So if we want to talk about the campaign promises, like, I don't know, a teacher assistant in every K to grade 3 classroom that is non-existent, $1,000 grocery rebate, the list goes on and on and on of unfulfilled, unfunded, and unaffordable campaign promises that the government made as a sitting government, who would have had access to all of the financial data and information when they were making those promises to the public, yet were more than willing to flat out say whatever it took to get themselves elected with no intention of actually following through. And if they did have that intention, then they really do need basic numeracy courses, because they ought to have known what they were promising was an impossibility, given the short time frame that they then walked away from those promises. And the member opposite referenced the bloated, blaming us for talking about a bloated public service. I would point out again, in the spirit of the motion around reading budgets, to perhaps read their own budget, where their own premier is talking about cutting 15,000 public service employees that have bloated under their watch. Not under our watch. We weren't the ones with the keys to the Indeed account posting job listings for the public service. This was the government that was in fact posting these extra 15,000 jobs, despite years of the opposition pointing out that the public service was getting too large and it was simply unsustainable. And that is the key piece to all of this. Again, we heard of the training modules that we've had as MLAs in this place, procedural training, but not training around what this motion is talking about. Understanding the core fundamentals of the interplay of the budget and the real-world consequences that that has, and what questions should rightfully be being asked. And I don't expect the government members to be standing up in this place and challenging the finance minister. Maybe they could actually get an answer. I never seem to get one, but maybe they could get an answer if they did. But I don't expect them to be challenging the finance minister openly and in public. That we, I think, realize would not happen. But one would hope that with the motion in front of us, that extra level of training would create that confidence that in those caucus meetings, those challenges could happen, that those discussions could happen, so that we don't see ever-increasing deficits. Because again, the member opposite talking in good faith about how they're taking the deficit seriously, the deficit is growing every single year that this premier has been the premier. So they're taking it seriously, but they're taking it seriously in the wrong direction. Unfulfilled promises and ever-growing deficit. That is at the core fundamental piece that we are talking about with this motion in front of us today, and why it's important that there's an understanding of that. Because we do not have the financial flexibility as a province any longer to continue down the paths we are on. And there is nothing more important in this place than, as all of us as a collective, to have a shared understanding of just what those consequences are to the decisions being made, to the answers being provided or not provided, and why those are important, and why when constituents are coming to your offices asking these very important questions outside of the lights of this place, you can actually provide a more in-depth and thoughtful answer back than parroting talking points provided by the Premier's office or the Finance Minister's office. That's why it's critically important, because these are the types of conversations we should all be having with our constituents in a nonpartisan way in our constituency offices when they come forward. And they deserve, the constituents deserve, to know that MLAs have at least had some level of training, especially when you consider the list of the other areas, subject areas that were just read off by the member opposite, of the other areas we've been trained in, or at least provided some guidance in. I don't understand why that would be a problem for the government to want to agree to add one more piece of training for us as MLAs. And so I do hope they actually take this in the nonpartisan spirit it's been presented. I do hope they take it in the serious way it's been presented. And I don't understand how more education would be a bad thing for MLAs instead of how the government members currently have been advocating, which would be less education for members.